Welcome to another Figuring Out Japan video. We sell the coolest Japanese collectibles and figurines straight out of Japan, and you can find out more details about us in the description of this video, including our Facebook page and our store. So thankfully this video is not going to be about a blank wall, but there is going to be a lot of talking, and I'm going to talk about boxes, which may not sound very interesting to some of you, but a lot of people do ask questions about, collectibles and, boxes and all that sort of stuff. So the main three things I'm going to address in this video are: one, how much is a box worth? Two, what is the best way to open a box? And three, what is the best way to store a box? So you guys don't get bored, I'll just throw some stuff here that you can that you can look at. But yeah, so firstly, how much is a box worth? Now everybody is going to have their opinion on this. In my opinion, and this is based on a lot of experience and a lot of seeing figurines and collectibles, I would say a box is worth roughly about 20% of the overall value of a figurine. I think generally people tend to overestimate how much a box is actually worth. I personally would not put it at more than 20% for a Japanese figurine. It does depend on, if it's a really rare figure or if it's a really old figure, then, it might change, but I would say generally 20%. For other collectibles, like things like Lego and that sort of stuff, I think it probably tends to be a bit more because, people like especially unopened stuff because, there's concerns about, there'll be pieces missing and that sort of stuff. But, I think with figurines, I would say it's about 20%. I'm interested in what you guys think, but from my experience, that's what it is. The other question then is around, well, how much is an unopened figurine worth versus one that has been opened and actually has the box? And I would honestly say, theoretically, yes, an unopened figure is going to be worth more, but honestly, I would say that the difference is pretty negligible. And some people are going to say, no, that's not true. If it's unopened, it should be worth a heap. Let me explain. Especially with these figures, you can't see the figure unless you open it. So it really has no value to anybody if it's never opened. And it always amuses me when people say, I bought this figure, should I open it or not? Of course you should open it. That's why you buy these things. Right, so if somebody buys it, then they're gonna have to open it anyway. It's not like an amiibo where you can display it without opening it. That's fine. You don't have to open it. But with with other figures, you do have to open them to enjoy them. The other thing is that these aren't figurines. They're not toys. They're not if I just have this here, it has all these little fine pieces and things, it doesn't move. It's not a toy, it's a figurine. It's going to break if you play with it. So most people who get these, they're adults, they put them in display cases, they take care of them. They're not going to be in bad condition, generally speaking. You do see the occasional one that's broken or got something missing or whatever in Japan, but generally they're not. So the fact that somebody's opened them doesn't really matter. And I just find prices do vary quite a bit with figurines. It seems to have more to do with just like if it's online, what time the auction ends, or if it's a shop, whether it's in a good location or not, or just it just tends to be more on timing, and whether it's unopened or opened just generally doesn't seem to have a big impact on the price, in my opinion. So if you do buy a figurine, yes, you should open it. I understand what I say, a lot of people might not agree with, that's fine. Leave a comment, share your ideas, but that's what I think. So the next thing is, how should you open a box? So usually when you have a new figurine box, what will happen is it will be sealed like so, and it will have a bit of tape here, a bit of tape here, and a bit of tape there. So obviously you can just cut it. And then the issue comes down to how do you actually open it. Now what most people do once they've cut the tape is they stick their finger in like this. They stick it in like that, and they yank it out like that. Now what my advice is find something that is small or thin. So here I have a broken scissor, but a key or a pen or a chopstick or whatever you can find, just something that's thin and long. And what you do is, I'm using the blunt sides. This is the sharp sides. I'm using the blunt side, and you just stick it in and just pop it out. See? And now I can lift. I could obviously do the same thing on the other side, but I don't even need to. It just slides out. And then once you've opened it, when you go to store it, just pack it like that. It doesn't take up any more room. So now if you don't do that, it's kind of hard to show. We're going to be able to show it. It's very hard to show in the light, but maybe you can just see. So anyway, there's a big crease here, and there's a big crease going along there. And you can tell that's exactly where whoever opened this box originally, yeah, I really can't show it in the light. So that's where they've just like shoved their finger in there. And then it's also creased along here because that's where this little flap has got caught on the edge. Now, honestly, it's not really going to affect the value. I mean, no one really cares this white part, whether it's damaged or not. But I'm just making this video for those of you who really do care about, you know, the condition. It takes an extra, 3 seconds, and it's actually probably easier anyway. So, last question. What is the best way to store a box? Doesn't really matter what you do, but one of the most important things is that you don't leave them somewhere in the sun, because what will happen is they will discolor. Now, it's probably hard to show again with the lighting, but this has discolored slightly. So if I compare that side to that side, hopefully you can see, for example, here is a much richer purple than here. And I can tell that however this was stored, it was exposed to direct sunlight and it has faded. It's not too bad, but boxes will fade in the sun. You will notice a difference after a year or so. It does discolor. One of the best ways is to flatten them like this, and it doesn't damage the box. You can easily make them up again, and it doesn't take up much room. So that's probably one of the most efficient ways to store a box. The only disadvantage with that way, and it's not really a big deal, but what was I going to say? But you have to throw out the stuff inside. So for example, this crocodile, it comes with all this cardboard and stuff in there, so in the bags, so you kind of got to throw that out. But that's not really a big deal. And then obviously you get figures like this Kuji figure that you can't really do it because it has all this plastic inside. But for standard figures, you just cut both sides and flatten it out, and that will do the job pretty well. What I personally do is I store my boxes in big cardboard boxes, and that way it just makes it easier to store them. It makes them easier to move them around, if you're vacuuming or whatever. And that way it just keeps them protected and nice and stored anyway. But there's some ideas. Definitely interested to hear what you guys do and what you think about some of the things that I've said in the video. I know it was maybe a bit boring to watch, but hopefully what I said was useful, and I'd love to know what your own ideas are. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.